Hey guys, I'm on my way back home from Miami, and as I'm sitting down on the plane, board military people first, so getting on, the plane and everything, and I see someone sitting right in the same row as I am, and I figured she was a military person, and lo and behold, I find out she's actually a female artillery officer in the Army, so combat arms officer just like me, and she's a person of color, which is completely adds to the story. And the uniqueness and the chances of meeting someone like that, running into someone like that, is just bizarre, right? So I think God puts people in our lives for a reason, and it's random to meet someone like that on a plane who has that much in common with you. And I want to give you guys an opportunity to hear her story. So right now we've kind of started discussing about our military experiences during the Black Lives Matter movement. I thought my little discussion at my unit was impactful, but then I heard hers and I'm just like, I don't know what to say. I just want you to tell your story and your experience about what happened when you were living through this.
Earlier this year, after the passing of George Floyd, my entire base tore down, had we call it a safety stand down. So basically, obviously this thing happened and this man was murdered, and which resulted in riots across the nation, across the world. And we have soldiers who are impacted. I mean, they don't just stay at work, they have their own personal feelings, their lives outside of work. We were just kind of waiting for guidance from higher. I'm like, okay, is our leadership going to address this, or are we going to address it, right? Because it's just like servicemen, you have soldiers of color under you. You have to say something so they know that you are on your side. They are on your side, and you guys agree, for lack of a better sense, on the something that happened. So we had this safety stand down. Basically, it's like, okay, let's call it out for what it is. Let's have a conversation about this, because this is obviously impacting everyone, and we don't even know to the degree, we don't know everyone's story, how a soldier could be truly feeling about this, right? So we go and we have this conversation. So I'm in the room with my battery leadership, in a room with majority of white males. And I had my gunny, he's my commanders, he's a black male, and my gunnery sergeant, he is a black male as well. We're having these conversations, like the detail of it, the specific questions that were asked, but went around the room telling everyone's story and how they view the crisis that we were in, really. How do you feel like leading your soldiers? We get to discussions, go around the room and kind of see where everyone's head is at. So, I had one NTO, who was a white male, just couldn't get it. He didn't get why people were so upset. He didn't get why people were so hurt, why people were so angry. He didn't get Black Lives Matter, because his understanding was, all lives matter. So for me, I kind of was shaken or taken aback a bit. I was like, how can you be so oblivious? What experiences brought you from then to now that you believe that is fact, right? So then I go along to tell my story, how I got where I am now, and I explained to him that I went to high school with Trayvon Martin. I went to Dr. Michael Croft Senior High School. I had a class with him. We weren't the best of friends or whatever the case may be, but I had many conversations with him, and he was a great guy, honestly. He was a quiet kid, and it was I explained how that travesty, I felt as if I was reliving it, because here we are again, unarmed black man who's just bludgeoned, really, in broad daylight, right? So I told that story and try to have a moment of being wrong, so people can understand how impactful the words that we say are, and just to bring everything full circle. And then that's
ladies and gentlemen from the flight deck, this is the captain.
So I say this story because, of course, we're having these conversations, and the Kendra in me wants to be upset and wants to be like, just go off from A to Z. But the Army officer in me can't do that, right? Because you're in front of subordinates, you're in front of superiors. You have to be as tactful as possible. So I'm just like, how do I get my point across and be very firm with it, but also I'm not getting that stereotypical angry black woman. I don't have that privilege. I can't do that. I can't go and just be upset and not have that stereotype follow me. That's a privilege that I don't have. So even to this day, we do these safety stand downs monthly. And it's a different topic, but that's kind of where it all started. And just the way the Black Lives Matter movement has happened and everything that's gone by. It's just like I'm trying to aid these leaders who they don't know, and you have to deliberately put yourself in that space to be like normal and understanding, because you lead people of color. Yeah. So I purposely put myself in that raw space to kind of allow them the opportunity to understand. So just imagine if you have leaders feeling this way. Just imagine how your soldiers are feeling. So just to generate that conversation, I do believe that day has impacted my leadership in the battery, because when certain issues come up, like soldiers come to me directly and ask like, hey ma'am, did you hear this? Or hey ma'am, how do you feel about this? So I know the fact that they feel comfortable because I was able to share that story. I think I'm doing something right. I hope I'm doing something right.
No, yeah, you're incredible. I don't have half the tact she does. I'm working on that. As an officer, it's really hard because sometimes we're like, how dare you say that? Yeah. But we can't. Like we have to be the thinkers, the ones using tact and using our leadership skills to get our message across. Even when people don't want to listen, we still can't be like, you don't want to listen to me? F you, I don't care. We don't have that option. We don't have that luxury. It's a hard position. Being a leader and being in a position of authority is difficult. There's a lot that you can lose if you do things the wrong way, if you don't have tact. And I'll be the first to tell you, like, I've been in trouble in the military for not being professional in how I went about, how I didn't like the way people were conducting business. Because I've seen people acting inappropriately, and officers acting inappropriately, and making racial comments, sexist comments, homophobic comments. And I've tried to fight fire with fire, and I'm sure you know that doesn't work in a community where you are the minority. If you're in a boys club and you make the boys club mad, things don't work out for you. So we as women, and as a woman of color, it is crucial to be tactful, and you got to think through everything 10 times more than anybody else before you speak, which is just, I'm sure it's emotionally exhausting.
Yeah, definitely, because you're always concerned about how you're going to be perceived. But I just go with like the mentality that my mom taught me growing up. She always taught me right is right and wrong is wrong. And that's honestly what I have to ask myself. I'm like, I'm already the minority. I'm already that one person that everyone looks at, Am I going to sit here and be that female on top of being the female of color that's going to say like, hey, like, dude, like, that's fucked up. There's definitely times when I've pulled like NCOs aside and I've told them like, hey, like, that's fucked up. Just the rapport and the relationship that I have with my NCOs, like, I'm like, it's not about me being personally offended, right? It's you're saying these things in front of leaders. What are you saying in front of soldiers?
Preach.
Look at them, I'm just like, and they apologize to me, and I was like, don't apologize.
For showing your colors.
Do better. I don't want your apology. You didn't offend me personally. It's unacceptable.
Yeah. Absolutely. And this generation soft, this generation we're too sensitive. Back in my day, we could say whatever we want. That is BS, and that is an excuse for people to get away with the things they've done their entire careers, which is belittle people, make fun of the microaggressions, little comments that kind of put you below them. It's not happening. This generation's going to change that. And with officers like you, and maybe me, I don't know if I'll stay in, I'm not sure. Hopefully we can make that change and make that difference.
It was a pleasure.
Yeah, pleasure. Another knuckle bump. All right.